Please help support the channel by visiting our Amazon store, affiliate link below. Hey, what's going on, everyone? My name is Matt Jarbo. This is 3 Buck Theater, and this is my review, my what I think of South Park Season 21, Episode 8, Moss Piglets. Now, the title of the episode doesn't have much to do with the episode itself, that is, unless Moss Piglets are another name for tardigrades. And that was a primary focus of the episode. One that I can only feel was slightly taken from this season on Star Trek Discovery, given the fact that tardigrade was a big part of the first half of the season. So that's something to consider. But anyway, it starts off with with the special ed kids class, where Nathan and Mimsy are trying to win the special ed science fair so they can be knee deep in the bitches. And of course, they plan on doing this by creating a papier-mâché volcano that is set to rock the special ed science fair and therefore destroy everyone else in the process. However, unbeknownst to them, but as they soon find out, Jimmy and Timmy are currently working on their own project, and this time around they are trying to understand water bears. And of course, Nathan and Mimsy don't quite know what they are. They think that it's nothing of value. That is until, well, Jimmy doing what Jimmy does best, being as thoughtful and kind as Jimmy is, which is what he generally is all the time, invites them to see the water bears, in which case they view the tardigrades and they become, well, jealous. They become fearful, frightful that Jimmy and Timmy are going to smite them and therefore get all of the women. And that cannot happen. Not at all. So they sneak in there at night when no one's looking, and they pour a whole can of lye into the water that the tardigrades are in, and then also drop in a hair curler, turn it on, and then simply walk away, thinking that they have eliminated all of the tardigrades inside. Well, the next morning, they're shocked to discover that these tardigrades have in fact become, well, sentient, and they're all inside doing the hokey pokey. And this is when they realize what mistake that they have made. And of course, now the popularity all goes to Jimmy and Timmy, who do get visited by some mysterious guests. Now, before I jump into that part of the show, the other bit of what's going on has almost nothing to do with the core group of boys. And this has everything to do with what's been happening to Heidi over the course of the season. Now, I've talked about this before. I'm not a fan of what they've done to Heidi. I always felt that Heidi was a good character. She was good for Cartman last season. Cartman clearly doesn't deserve her because he doesn't appreciate her at all. Not as a companion, but as a person. We've seen over the course of the past couple episodes, he has in fact actively attempted to get rid of her, as in like luring her to the woods dressed as Gretel, and then bringing in an actual witch to put her into a bag and carry her off into the night, thinking that's the last he'd seen of her. Then of course on the last episode, the episode begins with her accusing him of calling her a whore and shoving her in front of a moving car, and then somehow at the end of the episode got her to shun Kyle and go back with him. So when the episode does pick up and we do go to the cafeteria, the girls are sitting there and they are talking about how Heidi has become essentially Cartman, as evidenced by the fact that she has gained the weight that Cartman said she was gaining on the last episode, because all that Beyond Arby's and Beyond KFC has had its way with Heidi. And as a result of this, as a result of her doubling down on her wanting to be with Cartman because of everyone pushing back and saying she's an idiot for having been with him in the first place. Remember, she at this point now is a direct representative of what Trey Parker and Matt Stone are referring to as Trump supporters. She has embodied a lot of that rage and has essentially taken on the personality of Cartman. And they even make a mention of that. They even say it's like she becomes who she's dating, and that is clearly a problem, because the last thing we need is another Cartman. We have survived 21 years with a single Cartman, and if a female Cartman comes into the mix, hoo boy, oh no, everyone is dead. Make no mistake about that, my friends. Everyone is dead. But that being said, she is becoming Cartman, becoming as lazy as him. And when she's told by Mr. Mackey that she has to judge the special ed science fair on a Saturday, she wants nothing to do with it. She wants nothing to do with this. So she basically starts comparing herself to being slave labor, and then starts complaining about all the kids who are getting handouts, whereas she is the straight A student, the honor roll student, and everyone else is getting a handout and she's getting just overlooked, which is kind of an interesting take on society and some people's views of society, where those who you could say are affluent members of society, those who have worked hard to get what they have, do sometimes feel that they are left out of the equation when it comes to perks or handouts from the government. That actually, again, falls very much into the idea and the ideology of what Trey and Matt are assuming are general Trump voters here, without coming out and necessarily saying that. To me, that's what they're kind of hinting at. Again, I don't think that they're attacking the people. I think they're just kind of pointing at some like mindsets that might permeate in the outlying sectors of that particular base. You know, those 33% of Americans, by the way, it's no small number. It's a fair amount of people. But that being said, she actually petitions the school at an assembly to pull funding from this, because why is funding going for this when it's overlooking everyone else who actually contribute more? To which case there is a great line from PC Principal that says, like, is it just me or is she becoming more like Cartman? And Mr. Mackey goes, yes, she's like Cartman, but with follow through. And PC Principal just goes, oh my God, like that realization, and also just the line in and of itself. This is a female version of Eric Cartman, not as maniacal, not as much of a sociopath or narcissistic yet, but is clearly exhibiting those traits. And the difference between her and Eric is follow through. That should be frightening to everyone in South Park, because I have a feeling it's going to get crazier as time goes on. So Jimmy and Timmy working on the tardigrades, and all of a sudden a bunch of men in black suits show up and want to give them all the funding and resources they need for the water bears, for the tardigrades, in order to get them to become fans of the NFL, because this is where the show takes its twist, which is where essentially this guy is it Jerry Jones or whatever his name is, and he is trying to figure out how to get people to start watching the NFL again, because as we've heard during this football season, viewing is down, ticket sales are down, merch is down. It's not doing as well as it could. And this does kind of fall in line with what we've heard for many years, which is at the current rate the NFL is going, it's going to basically run itself out of existence by about 2030. And just so you know right now, one of the only things keeping cable television alive are sports packages. And people who are cutting the cable aren't buying the online stuff to stream. So the NFL and the NBA and baseball are going to really have to, work on that and offer a good deal to these people who want to then see those games. And of course, in order to make fun of this, to really make fun of this, is they poke fun at the new Los Angeles Chargers. Now, to me, that was the best part of the whole episode, simply because I lived in San Diego and in Southern California for 15 years. I've been to Charger games. I've dealt with Charger fans. Keep in mind, San Diego has the most fair weather fans in the entire freaking league. All right, AFL, NFL, whatever, man. The league. The Chargers have the most fair weather fans. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that San Diego is kind of like an import community. People come in for the military or for college or for other industries, and then they leave. They go back home once it's all said and done. People are always constantly coming and going. So establishing that kind of devout fan base for a team is hard to do with that city. And then never mind the fact that the owners are douches. And they treat the city like crap, and they threatened to leave all those years. The city didn't give them what they wanted, and then they left. They went to Los Angeles, and as a result, oh man, they've had trouble. So the fact that they pointed directly at them and made fun of them, I loved it. I loved it, because F the Chargers, man, seriously. But that being said, that's their whole goal. They want to create fans in these water bears. I don't quite know what they're thinking with this thing. I think they were just looking for a gag to throw in there, and that was kind of about it. But then again, the tardigrades can survive like lava and space, so I think the idea there is that these are diehard fans that would basically stick through them through anything, go wherever they need them to go, whether it's lava or space, and they would still be fans at the end of the day. And well, that's not necessarily a direct correlation between the current rate that people are cutting the cord these days. Keep in mind that it's upwards of like 2 to 5 million people a year are now cutting the cord. When I cut the cord 7 years ago, it was like 200,000 people a year. So it is exponentially increasing due to the cost. So this is a bit of a side thing, but the whole point there is that I think that's what they were going for. I think the idea there essentially was that they were trying to poke fun at that, right? On more of like a subconscious level. But yeah, it was really dumb. And anyway, Heidi gets mad because the fair hasn't shut down. She's there on a Saturday. She goes and she takes the water bears. She's going to go destroy them. She gets cornered in the front of the school. And she thinks of like the only thing she thinks of doing is drinking them. 20,000 tardigrades in this cup of liquid that is not only water, but also lye. She ingests all of those sentient beings for whatever, just because that's maybe something Cartman would do, or maybe that's even more of what Cartman would do than Cartman would do. Again, follow through here. Cartman would probably give up at some point in time. She doesn't. And so then at the end of the episode, they're sitting on the couch. They're watching TV. She's not feeling well. And she starts yelling at him, berating him, like, why don't we snuggle? We never snuggle. And so they kind of go to snuggle, and she turns the TV over to a channel, and it's a cartoon horse talking about doing the hokey pokey, which is what the tardigrades were doing earlier. And as a result of that, then all of a sudden the tardigrades are still in her system, and they start doing the hokey pokey inside, and then she just starts farting. And then Cartman tries to back away, and she yells at him again, and that's pretty much where the episode ends. So unlike, it's not the best episode of the season. It's still better than the season premiere in my opinion, but and there's a couple good jokes in there, but like this was again one of those ones where it was like kind of like old school South Park. It was like old school single standalone episode, pointing fingers at a couple little things, nothing too topical, nothing too in the moment. They didn't tackle sexual harassment at all. They didn't tackle Al Franken. They didn't tackle Roy Moore. I mean, they were pretty heavy-handed with Trump last week. You figured they would have continued on with that trend, but I think what they're doing is they are just like all over the place, you know, and I think they're doing that on purpose. To shake things up a little bit, to not be predictable, and it's both serving them and not serving them at the same time. The evolution of Heidi's character is one that I'm actually kind of sad about, to be honest with you. I genuinely liked the idea of Eric having a normal girlfriend, and then of course him not wanting normalcy at all, and then him pushing to leave and pushing to get away from her and pushing her away, only to then come back and win her back time and time again, because it's going to be a perpetual cycle with Cartman. But at the same time, her basically becoming him because of what he has done to her without her knowledge is interesting, and I can only feel for the last couple episodes of the season, it's very, very, very much going to backfire. And as a result of this, Cartman is going to have, Cartman's going to have just a hell of a time. Just a hell of a time with this whole situation. So I don't know what's going to happen next, but we'll have to wait and see. Again, there's been very little Kenny this season. The boys in general have not really been like on many adventures. It's been a lot of Eric and Heidi. It's been a lot of Randy. And I'm waiting to see what happens next, because I know there's a couple episodes left in the season. Who knows where we're going to get to. I don't know if it's going to tie in again with anything involving South Park and the fractured butthole, or if it's going to do a two-parter cliffhanger, or if it's going to cover whatever it's going to cover. But as always, I'll be here next week. What are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments below. My name, of course, is Matt Jarbo. This has been 3 Buck Theater. I'll talk to you guys later. Have yourself a great day. Peace out.